Sabrina here, Books of the Wormberg. Welcome to my first Agatha Christie reading vlog. So I'm starting off with The Body in the Library. This is a Miss Marple's case. I believe it's book 2 in technically her series. I know I've read this, I know I've seen it. I don't really remember much about it, so it's quite a quickie. So I'm going to sit and read this while watching some ER, because I really like ER, and it's, you know, I've seen that before, so I think if I watch that while reading, I'm multitasking. Wish me luck.
She's on her way to the airport.
Get to her before she takes off.
Right.
She's bleeding. We don't have enough time.
Let's watch her. The spleen get tamponade.
No, not with her crit falling like that.
That's the hemolysis.
No, come on. You don't know that.
You don't know it's a spleen.
Then I thought that we might cause hope.
We're never going to find out. Talk to the mom.
Cat's going bonkers. Hello. Hey, sweeties.
Not mad, listen.
So, here we are, mid-afternoon. I have finished The Body in the Library. God, look what happens when you actually sit down and read. You can do a book in a day, which is really cool. I think I've learned something. I shouldn't really try and watch something at the same time as reading it. I know I took this in, but there were moments where I was sitting there going, hold on, have I missed another murder? And yeah, and there was bits like, hold on, who's this character? So clearly I have missed bits, or it's not gone in because I was watching what was on the screen. I mean, I wasn't really watching it. I was definitely listening to it though. Okay, so The Body in the Library. Effectively, we find a body in the library of the well-to-do gentry couple that lives in St Mary's Mead. She's a friend of Miss Marple, so Marple comes round to console her, support her, and basically solve the murder because it's going to be bad for their image, and it needs clearing up really fast. 1942. So, oh my God, that's war years, isn't it? And there are definitely things in here. I mean, this is quite an original text version. This is not a cleaned up version. So there are ableist language used in here because one of the main characters is a wheelchair user through an accident when he was younger. So we've got some derogatory language used there, which obviously we wouldn't use today. There's a lot about the class system in here because the murdered girl is obviously a different class, and there's this all this about, well, she was up for getting some money from the rich man. So there's all that like social commentary that I think a lot of people miss when they read Agatha Christie. I mean, she herself came from very much the upper classes, so her family came from wealth, and she had a particular lifestyle that she lived. So Miss Marple, I feel, she's writing about the community that she knew the best, with the big house, which is obviously where she grew up and where she lived. And that image of, you know, the haves and the ones wanting, and the class divide of the time period, and let's face it, still very much so today. And a lot of that does just slip through in the way that the characters talk about each other and this murder. So there's a lot of that I did pick up on. So I was paying attention to some of it. There's not much description, actually. There's a lot of dialogue. I mean, I don't really know much about how the people look. I just know how they talk, how they behave to each other. And there's a lot of very short snippets. You know, each chapter is broken down into different parts, and we can jump wildly between characters, between different parts. So it's very fast, actually. You know, I think we think of classic books as being more slow and more wordy in that. No, Christie, she writes a quick page turner. I mean, I know her books were considered trashy by like the elite, but it's actually quite modern. It's like, what's my reader want? Wants the murder mystery? Well, let's just give them to it. Let's give them, here's the conversations, here's the facts. And we're not going to waffle in between. We're not going to do any like massive breakdown details or anything. We're just going to talk about it. And so it all comes across very, very quickly. Might be why I read it so fast. It might also be why I sort of dropped in and out. I don't know. It's a good fun read. I mean, it is an earlier Marple, so she's very much the Miss Marple that I know from the Joan Hickson series, where she just potters about, listens, takes everything in and pieces it all together. She's very much still that Miss Marple. She's not the tyrannical monster that I'm led to believe she becomes towards the end of her stories. But yeah, I enjoyed. I have given it 3.5, which for me is quite low. I do tend to give most books a 4. I'm giving it a 3.5 because I was doing something else at the same time and I can't quite remember everything. And that's probably a sign of actually ER was more engaging for me today, and this just didn't hold my interest as much as it should have. But it's a solid murder mystery with lots of social commentary about class and women's roles in society, particularly for the 1940s, late 30s time period that Christie was writing in. And Christie wrote about what was around her. Her stories are not historicals, which I think we forget a lot, particularly in the 90s and obviously the new millennium. Her books were contemporary books. They were written at the time period that they're set. They're not historical novels, and therefore everything that you read in it was thought about at that time, was said at that time. Those were the attitudes at that time. So, these are almost like little time capsules. St. Mary's Mead is basically a little village full of lots of white people who have nothing better to do with their time than gossip. Thank you, Agatha. So I will mark that down as 1 read, which is very cool. I will probably do a Hercule Poirot next. I'm trying to think, probably the ABC Murders, because I do like that one a lot. And I will sit and try and read that in an afternoon and see how I get on. Have you read The Body in the Library? What did you think of it? And, Agatha Christie obviously is a very controversial writer these days because of a lot of her views. She is not a politically correct author by any standards of today. But what do you think of her stuff as it was written? I think might be the question I would go with there. As always, thank you very much for watching and happy reading. Bye.
Are you, right? Okay. Now,